Hi, my name is James Stevenson. I'm the community director at Insomniac Games, and we're working on Marvel's Spider-Man, which is coming exclusively to PlayStation 4 on September 7th. So, we've said this is a story. It's not just a Spider-Man story, but it's a Peter Parker story. And as 23-year-old Peter Parker, you have your first job as a scientist in a lab. So you will see Peter spending some of his time in the lab, and both in the lab and in the rest of the game, he has a couple of little puzzle mini games that we use to show his technical aptitude and to solve some of the environmental and electronic puzzles in the game. So the game is set over a couple-week period of time, and certain times are very rigid in that you have to go meet Aunt May for dinner or something like that, or events in the game are tied to certain days. So there's no day or night cycle. The game time and the weather are tied to the story. That said, after you've completed the story, you're able to change the time of day and the weather to whatever you like. So if you want to go use photo mode to take some cool photos at a certain time of day or weather, you can certainly do that. Yeah, you'll be able to take spider selfies. We've shown one screenshot of that's out there. We don't have photo mode in the build here today, but we're excited for people to try it out in the final game. In Marvel Spider-Man, you have a bunch of skills that you can unlock. There's gadgets, there's upgrades, there's suit mods, you can build new suits. So a ton of stuff for you to craft and spend your resources on that you gather while playing the game. If you want to unlock absolutely everything, you can totally do that. You just have to play enough and get enough of the resources, but you are able to unlock every single item in the game and fully complete your Spider-Man. So after you finish the main story, there's certainly, if you haven't finished all the side content, there's going to be plenty of stuff for you to do still. Like I said, all the stuff to unlock, and maybe a little bit more we haven't talked about just yet. In the game, Black Cat is kind of she's part of a collectible that we're calling stakeouts. She set up all these stakeouts. She's back in town, and so Felicia Hardy is going around and casing some joints, and she's leaving clues about this to Spider-Man, who is finding the locations that she's cased for her robberies. Beyond that, we've also said that she more prominently features in the first City That Never Sleeps DLC that'll be coming out post-launch. So kind of just a little bit of a hint and a tease at her storyline in this main game with those Black Cat stakeouts. In Marvel Spider-Man, there's we definitely are part of the Marvel universe, and we're really excited because in the upcoming Spider-Geddon comic by Christos Gage, it's one where kind of all the different Spider universes bridge, and our universe is bridged in with some of the other Spider-Man, and so our Spider-Man will get to interact with the other ones, and you'll find out more about our designation there. So we're still just trying to finish the game right now. We don't really have a good estimate because it can vary pretty wildly depending on how much side stuff you do. But the story itself alone is pretty long and substantial, and if you do any amount of side content, the game is going to be really beefy and last you for quite a while. In this game, the only Spider-Man is our Peter Parker. There's no other Spider people. That said, you'll be able to build additional suits for him, and the suits that you can build each come with a suit power. Those suits are a combination of ones that are based on comics like Spider-Punk, Spider-Noir, also movies like the Iron Spider from the MCU or the homemade suit from the MCU, and then totally original suits like our Velocity suit or like the Velocity suit from acclaimed suit designer Adi Granov, or the Advanced suit, which is the kind of White Spider suit that you've seen. No, Marvel Spider-Man is a single-player game. We've dedicated all of our efforts and resources to making the best single-player game possible. So Peter Parker is obviously like a very savvy technologically. He builds all his own gadgets and suits and gear. So he's built his own interface for him to keep an eye on the city. And one of the parts of that interface that any 23-year-old is going to have a social media account and be able to kind of follow along with what people in the city are saying about him. So if you pay close attention in his menus during the game, you'll be able to see what people are saying on the social media in the city, and also see posts relating to things that are happening in the city. So it's kind of a fun little thing, and lets you kind of keep up with the city via a social media feed over the course of the story of the game. So in Marvel Spider-Man, we're not trying to tell just a superhero story, we're also trying to tell a human story. And while Peter Parker is an optimistic person in general, he is trying to juggle his life as a superhero while also juggling his career as a scientist, and also his personal relationships, like that with Mary Jane, but they're broken up, and Aunt May and everyone else. Those relationships are at the core of the game, and there's emotional stakes in those relationships. And I think as you continue to play the game and see sort of the themes of worlds colliding, the themes of mentorship and the themes of partnership play out, you will see the emotional stakes be raised. This is not, we have a lot of surprises in the game for people. I can't really get into too much without just spoiling everything for you, but I do promise that there are emotional stakes to things, and what you've played today and is just like the very foundation of things to come. We definitely we wanted to show Peter kind of in the lab, using his intellect as a scientist. Peter, when he was a kid, he reported for the Daily Bugle because he could get photos of Spider-Man and no one else could, because he was Spider-Man. But he was also this genius who is able to solve these really complex problems, and
but that's part of my charm,
and we wanted to see him putting those skills to the use. At the same time, it felt like a great option for MJ, and what's really great is it kind of helps play into that worlds colliding and the partnership themes, and that basically he hasn't talked to MJ for 6 months until they run into each other when she's doing investigative reporting and he's doing Spider-Manning. So now suddenly Peter's world of him and MJ's relationship is now bleeding into his world as Spider-Man. And on top of that, now he may have to kind of work with MJ, and what kind of drama might come out of that from someone who's basically tried to just protect MJ and keep her away from his Spider-Man life. Now she may be, kind of intruding on it. And so those are kind of the setup of the stakes that will play into that relationship. So throughout the course of the game, you're going to find out more about the past 8 years of Spider-Man. Some of this will be through dialogue in the missions or around the missions with different characters. Some of it's through finding things like Peter's backpacks, where each of them contains little bits of memorabilia, essentially, or items that he's forgotten that all come from the past. And then there'll be other things like J. Jonah Jameson episodes that are kind of retrospective on things that happened with Spider-Man. So you'll be able to find out and reconstruct some of that history. There also is a prequel novel that's being published by Titan Books that releases on August 21st and sets up some of the things heading right into the game as well. You mean the post-credit scenes? Yeah. You'll have to beat the game to find out. So to everyone in Malaysia, it's been awesome coming to Kuala Lumpur for the first time and doing a preview event here. It's been great to hang out and show people a little taste of Marvel Spider-Man, and we hope you've enjoyed all the coverage. And we want to thank everyone for all of your support of our games, including Ratchet & Clank, and we hope that you enjoy playing Marvel Spider-Man when it comes out on September 7th.
想要即时获取免费游戏的消息，只要在专业的 Following 里选择 Stevenson， 并订阅我们的 YouTube 频道，打开铃铛，你就不会错过任何最新资讯啦。